the recording so we can distribute this after the fact. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight for the golf preseason webinar. The purpose of this is discuss everything related to your training season, along with a time for questions so we can answer those, which we would like to answer at the end. But if there's anything that comes to mind that you're worried about forgetting, please feel free to drop it in chat. We will be monitoring that throughout the night. So joining us tonight is just going to be myself along with Steve. Marty Parks will be leading the coaches training, which we'll talk about earlier on, but he will not be joining us tonight. But I believe that we'll be able to help you with everything you need to get your season started here. I've heard positive things from 2 different counties that have started already. I look forward to another positive golf season with each of you. So the agenda tonight, basics of Zoom, we already covered that. Feel free to drop your questions in chat. This webinar will be recorded, so don't worry about writing everything down. If you want to screenshot or take a picture of a slide, feel free to do so. But this will be posted on the coaches resource page tomorrow, along with being sent out over email, along with a few other pieces that have been beneficial in the past for us. Next up, we'll pass it over to Steve to go over some return to activity protocol. We'll then jump into the fun stuff with golf, a review of some rules, along with what some of the season looked like with deadlines, trainings, etc. And then at the end of this, we found it helpful to include a bunch of resources that aren't particularly beneficial to everyone who's been around for a while, but is a great reference in case you're looking for particular documents. That can be found at the end of the slide deck here. We will conclude with an open discussion for any questions that come to mind. And if for some reason it goes past the time frame we have, feel free to stay on and I'll make sure to address those questions for you. Some people that we just like to honor and recognize that play a big part in our season. Mike Cumberpatch, he's a USGA rules official. He also plays a big role at the state championship, where if you ever see those drop zone areas, he's the one that places those there. 2 coaches to speak of, Bob Baker and William Lowe, unified partners and coaches for their county who are on our golf management team. Marty Parks, he's a rules official who will also be leading our coaches training this year. And then we also like to have an athlete on this team that's not recognized at this time, but they are kept in loop with their decision making on our end. So at this time, I'll pass it over to Steve to go over some COVID protocol.
Great, thanks, Rye. As we get started with discussing some of the COVID protocols, one thing just to let everyone know is it's currently under review with the Special Mixed Maryland Task Force of return to activities, return to activity, return to play. You might have heard those different terminologies. It's always, since COVID began, it continuously has been reviewed on a consistent basis. So what we'll go through here again is the current as of today at 6:33, what our protocols are. And we've received feedback from the individual groups here, our area leadership, coaches, Special Mixed Maryland staff, the task force, legal counsel, as well as our athlete leadership council. What it basically says, and we'll see a lot of these slides coming forth. I'm not going to go into depth in all of the details and read it. As Ryan said, you'll get these slides sent to you. It'll also be posted on our coaches resource page that Ryan will talk to you or remind you about as well later. But at this time, we are looking at, or what we are doing is we're following the protocols and restrictions of local and state jurisdictions. And also for our purposes here, any golf courses or venues where you're training, practicing, or hosting qualifiers. And whichever one of those is the most restrictive is what we will follow. So if you are hosting something in Howard County, if the state is more restrictive than Howard County, or the host facility is more restrictive than the state and Howard County themselves, then we would follow again the venue because it's the most restrictive. So again, as we go through this, the other thing we always ask you to do is if you have any questions, please contact your area leadership, your county or area directors. as they are continuously in that fold and informed as we move forward with any changes and updates. So any questions, go to your area leadership. If they can answer, they have their protocol to put it up the chain, and then we'll get back to them. So anyway, moving forward here again, these next couple slides, I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but what our other or former policies and things were. We had recommendations from SOI, and we appreciate all the concern and all the time and efforts that Special Olympics International, or SOI, has put into putting the protocols in place and suggested and recommended protocols. And again, when SOI looks at that, they're looking at a global impact, not just what we're doing here in America or within the United States. They look at it on a global basis. So again, as I mentioned, we'll follow the most restrictive given the state, local, or host venues. And but the vaccination protocol and requirements have not changed per se. Again, they're still under review and currently under review. So we can go on to the next one here. What we have said, and in doing that, that was a little bit of switch of what we've had in place previously. So it's a little bit looser, if you will. It allows more things to occur. But with that being said, one thing that we have had the question asked, well, are you just doing this to get more events? That's not at all why these changes have been put in place. It's more about following the local and state restrictions where everybody here in Maryland, in your counties or whatever, what everyone's dealing with on a life or a day-to-day basis within their lives. It does provide a safe experience, and it is, like I said, consistent with what we do here locally in our daily lives. So we'll go ahead to the next one. So again, as I said, the vaccination protocol remains the same. These are the things that have not changed. Re-entry after a positive COVID test or symptoms of having COVID remains the same. And those details will be in here in just a minute. And re-entry after a possible COVID exposure also remains the same. So these next couple of slides will go into the details of that. I'm not going to read these, as hopefully most of you guys have been involved with Special Olympics for a while. But again, the definition of fully vaccinated hasn't changed. That's your 2 doses or your 1 dose of the J&J. It does not, we don't look into the boosters at this time. And again, the sports and activities requiring vaccination for participation at this time have not changed, but golf is not one that requires a vaccination for participation at the local or state level. But again, check with your area leadership there. And here it just, you're good, right? Here it just kind of gives you an outline of currently where we stand with all the different sports that we offer at a state level. You can see highlighted there in the middle in the white section, golf. Again, vaccination is not required. The one thing with that being said is we do have some sports coming up where there is some overnight housing situations. So currently the housing situation, if you are staying overnight for any reason through Special Olympics, your county level or the state office or whatever, who is paying for or arranged that housing for you, everyone's staying there, whether it's a coach or partner, an athlete, a family member, whatever, the overnight requirement for being fully vaxxed is still in play. So here's where we get into after exposure, all the CDC regulations and guidelines. If you were exposed, if you develop symptoms, and it gives you, the quarantines, the get tested, watch for symptoms. So again, these I'm not going to go and read word for word. You guys can do that at your leisure. As Marian said, he'll send these slides out to you, but this is just so you know it's here, so you can reference it if you have any questions or if individuals show symptoms or test positive. The information's here for you to refer to. And all of this, again, will be posted on the coach's resource as well. And this, again, just goes into more detail about if you develop symptoms, even if you weren't exposed or, all that kind of stuff. The one thing we also will say is wearing a mask is up to the individual in this situation for golf. I know here in the office, the state office, we don't require masking, but we do have individuals here in the office who feel more comfortable wearing a mask. So that's up to the individual's preference at this time, whether they want to or don't want to wear a mask. Head on to the next one. So with that being said, again, went over that pretty quickly, but I know we've been in COVID for a long time. It's still a good thing to get vaxxed in a lot of reasons, but again, that's a personal choice, but there are some things to do or deal with if things come up. So again, we recommend it. And then with that being said, I will turn it over to, or wait, I'll go through a few more here.
Yeah, sure. If you would like, it's up to you.
Okay, I'll hit these and then get it out to you in just a few more slides here, Rye.
Sounds good.
So qualifying for the state tournament, again, as with any sport and every event we have, you got to meet all the training requirements, registration deadlines, certifications, and all that. And Ryan will get into those deadlines and timelines in the next couple of slides. As far as coaches go, you need to, again, complete your certifications. And that information is also on the coaches resource page. You can also check with the area leadership if you're unsure of what your status is. Go through those avenues and you can check and see what you need, or, hey, I know my sports certification for golf is going to end next year or whatever. I might as well go ahead and get another coaches training under my belt this year and not worry about it for a little while. As far as any area or county program, again, this isn't new. Anyone who is planning to attend the state championships, any county program or area program, must host a qualifying competition. And again, you send those sanction forms into our state office, we post them, and we work with you a little bit of support as needed. All level 1, 4, and 5 individuals, and level 2 and 3 alternate shot unified must compete in a minimum of 2 sanctioned qualifiers. And again, that's a minimum. We look to have as many people out on the courses and getting as much competition under their belts as possible, but that's the minimum. And again, there may be some times throughout the season where there's a tee time squeeze, if you will. So preferential treatment will be given to those who either have not had their 2 qualifying competitions already, or obviously from that host program, those individuals will get first come and preferential treatment. And then anybody else who's already had their 2 qualifiers, if there's room available, we'll slide you in as appropriate.
Steve, one quick comment on there. Anybody who is on a unified team, please make sure that those 2 qualifiers have those same partners. We use those scores to determine who we're going to division for the championship. So they feel free to go to 3. And if they want to use the same 2 for their 2 required qualifiers, that's perfectly fine. But there has to be a minimum of 2 qualifiers with that team playing together. Thank you.
And again, just a reminder that no athlete or volunteer can participate at any time or any manner in a Special Olympics Maryland program without valid certification. So hopefully everyone's familiar with all of that. The one thing that has come up in the last 2 years or so is the CDW. If there's athletes or coaches or anybody, sport volunteer, whatever, who has not been active since COVID began, that CDW may be new to them, and the CDW is the communicable disease waiver form. So make sure that in their certifications, everybody who is a registered delegation member, regardless of their role, must have that CDW. So again, there's no exceptions to this whatsoever.
In chat, Al asked a great question. Need to ensure that if there are costs associated with the qualifier, who pays? So we have noticed a trend of our locations starting to charge us in certain situations. The links at Shaladon is the only course that I'm aware of currently that is doing so, and they started doing that as of last year. something that I talked to another coach about today, which was a great point, is that there should be a spot on that sanction form that says pay to play on there. So that is going to be updated. So if you are going to submit a sanction form and have not done so already, please pull from the coach's resource page. I'll also include that updated form in the email out tomorrow. But the process that we do with that, Al, is I'll take Carroll County for an example, since that is where the links to Shaladon is. The counties that attend, their athletes will be charged. So Carroll will take care of their athletes. Howard, say, came, Howard will be charged per athlete if they choose to attend that location. Shelley just included that Montgomery has to pay also. Shelley, I know that you already got your sanction form in, so I will update that. If we could have a price too on that, I think that'd be really helpful. I'm sure that people will ask that. So send that along. And Don just said Frederick too. Yeah, it seems like that is the way we're moving after talking to multiple people. So that's very helpful to know. I'm not telling you to budget for that, but obviously it's clear that this is something that may continue in the future here.
And I think another important thing there, Ryan, that we'll also need to clarify on the sanction forms for the new ones coming in, as well as those have already been submitted, is the differentiation for payment for tee times and what the costs are there, versus if there's any that are offering level 1 or individual skills, and is there a fee to use the practice greens in the driving range? So I think just to get that clarification in there would be very helpful as well.
That's a great point. Yep, we'll do.
And I will say, Shelley, just if you want to unmute yourself, I want to make sure that what you're saying in the chat is that you are paying for all tee times for all counties coming to your qualifier.
Yes.
All right, I might sign up for that one as well then. I appreciate that, Shelley. So we will.
Normally we have to give the course, we have to pay $500, and that's what they've been charging us for a very long time.
Gotcha. And that's fantastic. And I appreciate the generosity of Montgomery County. All of you guys do a great job at every county that we have. Some have the opportunity to do that, to pay for those that are coming. Others may not have that availability or that flexibility. So great thing there, Shelley. We will put it in the memo that it's pay to play, but also give you credit that Montgomery County will take on those costs of anybody filling the tee times that are offered there.
And I do believe Frederick County does as well.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was with Ruth a couple years ago when she was paying, and we included all counties in when we was talking about the course players. Gotcha.
And I think I saw the question come in of when do they pay? And Ryan or others who have like Carroll County, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's pay on site, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But we'll clarify that for the upcoming qualifiers. As we send out the tee times, we'll let you know about the payment there. Okay, and then here's just kind of a basic diagram. This is also revisited later in the presentation. But again, if you're unsure of what an individual from your delegation needs, it's laid out here very simply. And in the different categories of athletes, partners, and general volunteers, your sport volunteers, and then you start getting more certifications with the assistant coaches as well as the head coaches. So the one thing here where it says head coach sport certification, later on in an additional slide, that gives you a little bit more detail about the coaching Special Olympics course that is also part of this. Don't just say, hey, if I have my volunteer application and screening, got my protective behaviors and my concussion, got my CDW, I'm head coach certified. That's not what this is saying. This is saying, we'll talk about that slide later, but this is a brief synopsis of it. And with that, I think we go to deadlines and timelines, and I will hand that over to Rye.
Perfect, Steve. Thank you very much. So the training registration deadline is exactly a month away, August 19th here. That's when all of your athletes Unified partners and coaches need to be entered into GMS. If they are not in at that time, they will not be eligible for the state competition. That does not mean that they can't continue to go to qualifiers and practice with your program, but that is the date that we need to have everybody into GMS. The last date for missing forms, that's roughly a week after the date above. That's when everybody needs to have their medical form in. Coaches need to have their coaches certification valid through the state championship, which is September 25th. And if you attend the coaches training, which is coming up here, that will check that one there. Along with unified partners and volunteers having their forms that Steve just discussed up to date. The competition registration deadline, that's when the team rosters and their events, please include their events also. There'll be more information coming out as we get closer to that date in GMS. Any athlete or unified partner without an event will be deleted from the competition on September 16th there.
I was muted, sorry. One thing that's very important here is you see those dates. Those are the dates that we at the state office are looking at. As it's indicated under each one of those due dates, work with the area leadership so that they have 1 or 2 weeks prior to that deadline so that they have the information and can get it input into the system. Don't wait till the 18th or the 19th and send it to your area leadership, because by that time it'll be too late. So just make a note that these are the dates that the area leadership has been given to make sure everything's 100% in. And then that way you guys get it to them a week earlier or so, so that they can do their due diligence and make sure everything is input correctly.
So the golf events, we offer levels 1 through 5. ISC is individual skills competitions. There's 5 different stations that we offer. We did not offer the bunker shot. If anybody was looking through the rules, that is not one of our 5. Level 2, alternate shot, 9-hole unified. Level 3 is alternate shot, 18-hole unified. And then level 4 and 5 is the individual play, 9 and 18 holes. Some rule reminders from a few years back, which I think are great. Not that my opinion matters, but I'm glad that they added these. It used to be instead of from the shoulder, now the ball must be dropped from the knee height. That's to keep the ball from rolling who knows how far away. That's a great implementation that the USGA made there now. So dropping it from the knee, a lost ball, instead of looking for it for 5 minutes, it is now considered a lost ball if it cannot be found in 3 minutes or under. A flag stick, there's no penalty whatsoever if the flag stick is hit. That also means that the flag stick can be left in. If you choose to do so, there's no stroke penalty if the ball hits that flag stick. Another reminder that came up a lot at qualifiers that we noticed after looking at some scorecards, a player's team or score for each hole is capped at a max of 10 strokes for levels 2 through 5. That means after 10, you pick your ball up and on your scorecard, you record it as 10x. Straight and to the point. Do not continue to play for pace of play reasons. And all we need to know is that it took more than 10 shots. And also another reason I like for that outside of pace of play is that it keeps someone from getting extremely discouraged if they happen to have one bad hole. That does not determine whether you're a good golfer or not. There are some tough holes that our athletes play on, and it's great to kind of start fresh on the next hole there. So with the pitch shot, this came up at a few different qualifiers. I'm going to go over to the next picture here first, and then we will jump back. So the goal of this, which is stated in the rules, is to have the athlete pitch the ball over the banner, and the goal is to land it in that target area. What's stated in Rule 4.6.3.4 is that is the objective of this. Once we go back over and look at this description with the different points, which is on this slide, it does not say that the ball has to go over the barrier for the max amount of points to be scored. It is possible for the ball to land inside that circle without going over it. That's something we're going to work to clarify in the rules in the future. But just to go through here, it's 0 points if you completely miss the ball, 1 if contact is made with the ball, but it does not go over the banner. A second point is scored if the ball goes over the banner between the upright poles. A third point is scored if the ball lands anywhere in there. It can start out and come back in, but it needs to go over the banner and then land in the circle. On the fourth is that it has to land inside the circle and stay there. So again, it's not the chip shot, it is the pitch shot. It needs to go over the banner, which is the objective of this skill station.
And just so we're clear, what Ryan stated is we will get clarification as we move forward, or try to get clarification. That's not trying to get clarification here within Maryland. That's a rule submission change form that we in Maryland will send to Special Olympics International to have that clarification input in the second point, or the third point and the fourth point. So it does continue to read, or it will be changed to read, a third point is scored if the ball lands inside after going over the barrier in between the poles. So for our purposes moving forward, we will continue to the ball must go over the banner in between the two poles in order to get your second point, third point, and fourth points.
Al had a great point. He said, sign the scorecards to verify the scores. Exactly right. But please, if you're going out with other people on your same tee time, have them verify your score and sign off on your scorecard. Ideally, that's the route we like to take. So you're not the only one signing off on your score, because then it could be whatever. It's very nice. And we would like it to always be this way, that somebody else is confirming the scores that are written on your card. Again, there's a few different counties that are starting up skills this year. You can kind of use a netting that kind of holds the tarp down or whatever on the back of the truck that works pretty well if you don't have a banner, which is exactly that distance. If you're wondering what to use, I can help you with that as you get your program started with your skills stations. Coaches training will be on August 6th at the Country Club of Maryland again. That was a great location in the past, and we're going to be doing that on August 6th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. That's a rough estimate. Typically, we go an hour and a half, and then there's questions or people sticking around at the end. It's been very productive in the past. Many of you have been on that or in attendance there. Marty Parks will be leading that. I met with him last week. We're working to pretty much revamp what we've used in the past. I don't think it's good use of your time or ours presenting it to continue to present the same information when there's some better content out there that we can be presenting to you. So we will be back there. And I heard that sweet tea will be offered. I don't know what else, if anything, but Marty was very excited about the sweet tea.
And I think what we've also found very productive in the most recent coaches trainings is, if you plan on attending this coaches training, you can submit any questions or anything that you have challenges with, whether it's athletes, partners, or questions about rules, or anything about how to provide better training or whatever, and have discussions. But we need those about 3 to 4 days ahead of time. You can send those questions to Ryan, but again, that opens up that dialogue, and we have questions more than just a lecture session, and then go out and do some strokes on the driving range or practice greens. But if you're having challenges, don't hesitate. We just had a kayaking coaches training this past weekend. I asked everybody to submit 2 questions, whether it was a rules clarification, a training challenge, or a competition question. So again, that's very productive. We're here to help you guys to be better coaches. And if you have something that you've been struggling with, there may be another coach who has also struggled with that same situation, and they've found a great solution. So it's more of an interactive dialogue than just Marty sitting up there talking to you guys about golf. So, think about that leading up to the coaches trainings, and we can address that for you and help you out.
So upcoming competitions, a sanction form needs to be completed and approved by your area director and submitted within 11 days of the competition, ideally way before that, just so we are aware of it. Actually, that that time frame may be completely off. The intent to participate, I know, is 11 days out. Please, as soon as you're aware of those sanction forms, get them over to me. I think we have 4 currently, along with one other rough one that I'm not including yet until it's finalized. But please, that allows us a lot more planning and we can support you a lot better. One other note with that is please be very thorough when you're filling that out. If I see you don't need equipment, it doesn't mean I won't be there necessarily, but I will not be bringing equipment. So please make sure that you fill that out thoroughly. And again, have your area director sign off at the bottom. That does not need to be a real signature. That question's been asked in the past. That can be an electronic put in. Please just pass it by your area director so they're aware of everything that's going on within your program.
And I think, if I'm not mistaken, on the sanction forms, it's a requirement to have them 30 days in advance of when the competition date is. Now, we also know that can be some restraints and challenges in getting that 30-day out. So we'll work with you guys and work with your area leadership. But as Ryan said, the more lead time we have and the area directors have, obviously, the better we can be prepared. So we'll work with you as best we can, but we would love to have them 30 days in advance, but we also understand some challenges that can be incurred, and we'll work with area leadership as best as possible.
So far, here are the scheduled competitions in front of you. Something that was brought to my attention today that's been very helpful in the past is the weekly distribution, which kind of looks like this following picture here. And then it'll kind of be updated where which ones are past, which ones are upcoming. I think that's helpful for you guys kind of to print out, cross out the ones that don't apply to you. It's one thing to see all the information on the coach's resource page. But what I would suggest is not to just look at this. This will not have all the details that you may need to know before attending a qualifier. That sanction form is going to be in much more detail. This kind of just helps give you a condensed look at what the season could entail and what some opportunities are. I've heard that this has been helpful in the past. So again, the weekly communication will look similar to this, and we'll continue to add opportunities as they present themselves.
And Ryan, just to make a note on that one, I'm assuming this is all pretty much accurate. The one that we may want to double check on the requests due date for Charles County, it's August 1st. That's a month and a week or two ahead of time, so that's probably not accurate. But again, Ryan will confirm that and get it out to you guys.
Nope, that's accurate. I need it very far in advance.
Okay.
Yeah, September 1st would obviously be the date for that one. Good catch. Thank you. So the Gulf State Championship will be at Queenstown Harbor. We will be back on the Lakes course again. Very happy to be working with their team again, who's absolutely phenomenal, loves our athletes, which is what we're looking for in a partnership. It'll be on September 25th, again on that Sunday. Talked to them last week. Actually, it was yesterday. And they are on board and on track. Everything as far as that I can share at this time will be the same as it was in the past. So there are no major changes at this time. The pre-competition webinar will go into more detail related to this. Just wanted to give you a heads up and confirm that yes, in fact, we are back in Queenstown for this year. So some rules here. On the coach's resource page, each of these are listed with the most up-to-date books or guides that we have. So on the page is the Special Olympics rule, which is the newest version, the USGA rules, which I also have the little handbooks that I can give to you at the coaches training, which I found to be very helpful. Pictures included, great for me. It may be helpful for you also. It'll enlist the competitions and a lot more information. Maybe you want to look at what the competitions looked like last year or stuff like that, or maybe the scores of your athletes. I do keep that up for 1 year. So it does show the results from past events, or if you're interested in seeing how many athletes you opened it up to last year, which could be helpful for when you're filling out your sanction form, that is still listed on the coach's resource page. So please feel free to use that as a reference. I will be directing you back in each email to that page, as that's always going to have more content than what's included on my emails that go out.
Yeah, with that being said, as Ryan said, it's very good resource. And if you could pass it along to any of your assistant coaches or whoever else, it's a great first place to go if you have questions about golf. You know, as you guys all have your daily lives and work and volunteer and preparing for the fall sports season, we're very busy as well leading up to that. So by all means, reach out to us if you go to the coaches resource page and can't find an answer to something. But this is a great place for everyone to start. Most information will be there that you're going to need. But again, if there's not something there, reach out to Ryan. And if it's something we can post, we'll put it out there. We're not perfect, obviously, and we may miss something, and we can put it up there for other coaches that may also find it valuable. So again, always check coaches resources page first.
Yep. Something else that is included on there to note is that the individual score sheets that are blank that you might want to use for your qualifiers are on there. Printing those out in advance and having the athletes' names and kind of breaking out the groups in advance will make the day run a lot smoother, as many of you know. So feel free to pull those from that page if you don't have a copy accessible already. Obviously, any questions you have related to golf, please send them to me. When you're sending in your sanction forms, as a note, please include Dottie Rush on them also. She kind of keeps track of a bunch of different things in our office here, but also keeps a record of those sanction forms at this time. Her email is drush, drush at somd.org. So just keep us both in the loop there. At this time in the season, email is best. As we get closer to the state championship, please call for any things that are immediate, need to be addressed. If you do not hear back from me within 48 hours, please email me again, because that means that it was put to the bottom of my email and it may be lost. So please reach out. I will get back to you in a timely manner. In case you're wondering who to contact related to other sports, you can see them here listed in front of you. At this time, as there's a vacant sport director position that we're looking to fill, Steve will be covering swimming, kayaking, cycling, bowling, and alpine skiing. But any other sports, please direct those to Anger and I, and we will address those questions. All right, at this time, please feel free to unmute yourself, unless you prefer to type into the chat. If there's any questions that come to mind, or also if there's anything for the coaches training that you would like to specifically be covered, now's a fine time to state that also. Donna, go ahead.
Did I hear you right when you said 5 stations on skills will be offered? Wasn't it always 6?
6. It is 6. Good catch.
Okay. I was sitting here counting them, and I even called Kathy and I said, didn't we always do 6? And she said, yeah. I said,
No,
well, Ryan's saying 5.
Nope, no, it is 100% 6. You are right. Yep.
All right. Thanks.
Yeah,
Bye.
you got the pitch, the iron, the wood, the short, long,
Chip.
and chip. Yep.
Got it.
Hi,
Thank you.
my name is Bruce Anderson, Carroll County. I have one quick question on the links to Chaladon. I noticed that the levels of golf 2 was omitted. Is that a typo, or is level 2 not going to be invited, I guess, for that competition?
No, yeah, level 2 is definitely available. I'm not sure. Was it, you said it wasn't on the list?
I didn't see it. I saw 1, 3. Let's take a look.
Yep, there it is. Level 2 alternate shot 9-hole unified.
I mean, for links to Chaladon, that's qualifier.
Oh,
Yeah,
that I
Right.
don't know.
right.
There are. Go ahead,
No,
Ryan.
Bruce, I know exactly what you're saying. That needs
Right.
to be changed that will be changed before the distribution tomorrow. Lori
Okay.
said that skills and then both 9-hole golfers are allowed
Okay.
at the links. Correct.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thanks for verification.
No,
Thanks.
thanks for saying something.
Sure.
Al, I see your question about golf carts needed for a medical need. Ryan, you want to address that one?
Yeah, so medical, please ensure that they are at each of your qualifiers. We cannot start any of those until medical is on site. Go ahead, Steve. You're going to say something. I can see it.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. Great point. But I think this one's asking about a golf cart with a medical need.
Gotcha.
So I know
Yep.
we talked about that earlier.
Yeah, for an athlete.
Yes, correct. I didn't see the question. I was just going off what I heard. Yeah, so if an athlete needs a golf cart, so at each qualifier outside of what I heard from speaking with Jen today, golf carts will be available for every athlete. I believe Howard County is the only one that I am aware of at this time, which is up to them. And I know that the course that they use is sometimes short on golf carts. So the decision is made for anybody with mobility or medical issues to be given that golf cart first. So anybody who does need that cart that does not need to be listed in a medical form, that will be up to the host to or understand, or whoever is coming in to say, I need a golf cart for sure. And I'm sure that Al and the rest of your team will work with anybody with those mobility or medical needs, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and anybody correct us if we're wrong, but and Al, does the qualifier you guys host, is that one very limited with golf carts, or is it supposed to be a walking course, or what has been the challenge in the past?
No, the qualifiers we've had has not been a walker. Golf carts have always been available. One of the questions we had is we may have an athlete that we need to move from level 2 to 5 down to skills, but he can do the skills, but he needs a cart to go between locations depending on what that venue is due to mobility issues. So we just want to make sure what documentation that the state has and what do we have to make sure is available with or for the athlete so they have it.
Yeah, good point, Al. And you know what I can say, similar to what we do at the state championships at Queenstown, is we have the golf carts, the 6-passenger or maybe 8-passenger that moves them back and forth from the short, long, and chip shot to the driving range for the other 3 stations. If you have individuals that need that, if they're going to another multi-county qualifying for skills, just work with Ryan and or the host county, and we can see what needs to be done there. What I would say is, as we talked about payments for whether it's tee times or whatever, similarly, if there are restricted or limited golf carts, there may be a need, even though there may not be a charge for use of where you're doing skills at a qualifier, there may be a charge assessment for the use of a golf cart. So that would be passed along to the county if the host county is not prepared to do that. So we'll definitely work with you on that one. What I'll also say is, and I think everyone's on the same page with this, but where there are limitations or not a plethora of golf carts available, if you will, at qualifiers or whatever else, I know in the past there have been parents who have been able to purchase a golf cart to go out and follow and stay, the 50 feet behind or whatever. But obviously, first priority will go to those competitors. And when those situations arise, like you just mentioned, Al, for skills, depending on how far the distance is from the different stations, we'll need to take that in consideration before we offer any extra carts up to spectators and that type of thing. But yeah, we'll work with you, Al.
Thank you.
I'm not seeing any other questions in the chat.
Nope, and neither am I at this time. Okay. Oh no, I missed the thank you slide. So thank you guys very much for joining tonight. But much more importantly, joining tonight, thank you for all of your work, hours that you've already put in, will put in for our athletes. They love their sport that they play. That's why they do it. Please continue to put forth your best foot here, as we all will for our athletes this season. And thank you for all your efforts. I look forward to working with you again. It does get very busy throughout this season. As you all know, let's continue to work together. Please sign up for your qualifiers as soon as you can. That eases the load on my end and kind of also gives you the sense of relief that, okay, my athletes have already fulfilled the qualifier duty, and now they can continue to practice and get better from that aspect. So get them in as soon as you can. Plan out your qualifiers, plan out your request for participation forms. Again, that will be a first come, first serve type of deal. Any athlete that plans to attend, please ensure that they truly do plan to attend. That could possibly, if they do not, be taking away from an athlete that would have been able to attend there. So at that, nothing in the chat. John, thank you for joining tonight and everything. We will end this webinar. I
Yep.
hope you guys have a great rest of your night, and Steve will say the final goodbyes.
Yeah, I was just going to say, as I say my goodbyes, right? If you want to just flip through these next slides, these are the resources that Ryan was talking about that's available in this web slideshow about, you know, participation forms, the waivers, the requirements. Again, just so you guys all have that at your disposal as needed. But as Ryan said, you know, without you guys as coaches, Special Olympics doesn't exist. We know it's a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and, you know, hopefully very rewarding, as we see a lot of returning coaches. And without you guys, without your feedback, we're always looking to improve. So any suggestions you have to make golf or Special Olympics better, whether it's locally or at the state level, don't hesitate to let us know. Take it under advisement for sure. And again, one of the other things we always say is, for those of you who are going to qualifiers or going out at practices or trainings, don't forget to thank the host facilities, whether it's the person who's doing janitorial duties or the catering service or the check-in or the handing out of the golf carts. As you guys all well know, a simple thank you goes a really long way. It also shows our appreciation for what they do to make it possible for us and their athletes to have the experience in the sports they love, as Ryan mentioned. So remember to be respectful, clean up after yourselves, say the thank yous, as we are saying thank you to everyone here for everything you do, not just for golf, but year round, as I know many people wear many different hats and coach many different sports. So we just really are indebted to you guys for your service, for the organization, and for the athletes you serve.
Thank you.
All right, thank you all. And with that, have a great rest of your night and a great rest of your week, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.